Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is your girl, Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, along with my partner in everything, Miss Aleathia Brown.
Hola, people. Hola, chica.
So, Aleathia and I have a tendency of engaging in these heated conversations on a daily basis. One of the reasons why is because, we're so connected in so many different layers of our lives, how we understand one another. So, talking to each other, using each other somewhat as a soundboard, and just understanding or having a place to breathe with not always having to explain your point of view, is a source of relief. So in that source of relief that we are to each other, we're healers. So we're always about sharing that message with others, but we're always in our intimate conversations. You know what I'm saying? We'll be chatting on the phone, so people don't really get to hear the healing that we discuss with each other before giving it to the world. So today, I was on the phone earlier with someone, and the person asked me, what do I do, or what will I be bringing to the table in a certain scenario? And it kind of, it kind
It
of did
was a
some
hiccup. It was a hiccup.
it kind of did some things for me. But in me and my understanding, when talking to folks that are not necessarily like me, I took a pause and ended the conversation, and then called you right up and was like, girl. And without even saying anything, you just was able to spit out what I was feeling. And it's just an interesting place to be, because we find constantly that when folks think about, when employees, it seems, thinks about entrepreneurs, they tend to think that entrepreneurs are somewhat,
Slouches. So let's
hmm,
let's co- let's bring folks into this conversation. What I said to you was there's this challenge and controversy of the nine to fivers versus the entrepreneur, and it's always a challenge when you're being either berated or misjudged in a negative way for not having access to defined money on a continuum that's concrete. And your response was about, well, you could lose your job tomorrow. And
and
so what's the challenge of getting people to have clarity that if you've been living in your dwelling for a decade plus, and I
plus,
have, then obviously it's not some chance and some gamble that I'm on. There really is some method that I have to this madness. And I said to you as well, there's a thing about people and the exchange. You can give up your body in an intimate exchange with somebody long before you really get to know who they are and the spirit of their being. But when it comes down to finance, you can't ask a pertinent question about where are you on the spectrum of how you manage your money, how you make your money, how that we can build this relationship on a continuum, and what are some of the challenges that you deal with that maybe in us bringing together a union would actually be beneficial to both of us. That's not being asked.
right. But I think it's not even sometimes that it's not being asked, because when it is asked, then it's not always received in a way that seems respected or understood. Because someone can ask the question of, well, how do you make your finances? Whether it's your employment, the different types of employments you have, the different investments, or whether it's not you're an entrepreneur and you've had different projects or different investments. The conversation is being had, but when the conversation is being had, my problem is that it's not always understood, because it doesn't come under the uniform of that guaranteed check that the employee is getting. So because the employee doesn't see that weekly or monthly paycheck from the entrepreneur, somewhere in that mind thinking of the employee is that, oh my God, is that person going to be able to make money? even though that entrepreneur is constantly making money, because in order to operate and run their business, they have to generate some type of money to exist and then to still have their life and maintain their life. So not only have I maintained my dwelling, I've raised 3 kids. You know what I'm saying? And I've raised 3 kids, not in a household with 2 incomes of us doing it together. Eric co-parent when the children was with him, but they was also home half the week, every week with me. And I wasn't getting child support. So at some way, prior to even having children, I've been on my own, like most of us, since very early on. And if not on my own, financially supporting anything additional I wanted in my life. And maybe that's the difference, one of the difference between the employee and the entrepreneur, in a sense that I don't see any limits. You know what I'm saying? I see what it is and I see how to get to it. You know what
Well,
I mean?
but the thing is, it wasn't so much that you do or don't see something. It's the challenge is whenever we're talking to, and I'm gonna talk the way we talk, but we're not on a camera.
All right, let's do
Um,
it.
when you're talking to mortals and you're an entrepreneur, folks think that, well, I don't know what, I don't know how, I don't know where she's making this miracle happen. Somehow she's landing on her feet, and it's like the lucky charms that's floating over her head that just seems to pick her up. But if I come into the picture, I'm going to have to be with a cape on my back and save her. When I know a ton of couples who have concrete jobs who are on divorce roll because financially one is spending and the other one is making, and there's this conflict of how do we come together with our finance, which is sometimes you need the same way you need a relationship coach or a marriage coach when you're going to get married. You should have a financial coach that also explains and breaks down how the money is coming and going in in each of these spaces, and what your perception of how money operates. Because if you don't have a financial literacy, then it doesn't matter whether you got a concrete job or not,
Or not. Or
because
not.
it's really
Because I've
how you make ends
or
spend.
exactly, exactly, exactly. So that maybe should be what the questions are, and what should be viewed. How is that person spending their money? How is that person living within their means, outside their means? I think sometimes we actually ask more questions before we just sit back and observe. We can ask the questions, but somebody can tell you anything. So sometimes in asking the questions, rather than asking the question over and over, that it becomes annoying to the person that you're asking the question to, why not observe and watch how someone does things? But then in asking that question, is there a time limit in which someone has to observe how your lifestyle? We pose the question, how has this now been affected through the pandemic? Because in the pandemic, unless you're an essential worker, you have to figure out a creative way. So let's even talk about the two of us. Creatively, you have figured out a way to adapt to the virtual world. I
And,
have not. I've
and
chosen not to do that. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Now, I've suffered, you know what I'm saying? But does that mean that I don't want to work because I haven't chosen to do a virtual assistant job, phone operator, or do something creatively within my business or the arts in this virtual world because I like to do something different? Does that mean that because I've chosen, good, bad, or indifferent, not to adapt, and I am not an essential worker, then I don't want to work? Because I was compared to the new show Harlem. I was
Hmm.
compared to fucking the artist girl, the
But
girl who sleeps on her homegirl's couch. And even that was a wrong interpretation
yes,
because she wants to be a performer, or no, once because she is a performer, that
being
requires work. Because
right.
once she got that gig off Broadway, she showed up to rehearsals, she was learning her parts. So it's not that she didn't want to work, because we choose
But
how
but
we
look,
work,
that's the
then we don't want to
perception
work.
of work. But that's the perception of work. Work,
Right.
it, like when you use the word, every time it came out of your mouth just now, what I was hearing is you're not willing to show up in a disciplinary way to bring an income. Work is not defined that way. Work
Okay.
is is garnering an exchange from goods and services to a financial reward. And so we have a perception of work in the capitalistic world, which is the 9 to 5, get a job, get an income so that you can retire. And I don't know anybody right now who is of the age to retire. And I'm in that age bracket because all of my friends are in that 1 to 3 year retirement stage, where not one of them isn't talking about what the next phase is. They're going to retire from that job they had 30 years to go into their passion job, which is their career of passion. And so when you say work, you're talking about bringing enough income to be able to sustain you in whatever space that you're in, whether it be you're the empty nester and you don't have children living with you, but you still have an expectation of delivery, because even if you don't have young minor children, you still have expenses with those children when they need help, those children when they start having children, those children when they have their passion ideas that they want your support in. There's still an ongoing supply of things that you are in demand for. So maybe we should relanguage the idea with work. But what I heard, let me go sidebar back to what you
Okay.
said about this person and how people perceive things. I heard the anxiety on this person at you, because the anxiety is, I don't know what you're
Tell
going to do.
it.
I'm afraid about what you're living like, and I don't understand you. That's what you were
Yes.
receiving. So
Yes.
although in a perfect world and bells and whistles,
Say that
you would
again. I I think I
in a
interrupted you. I think I interrupted you going to church. Say that again. What did I receive?
so
And what was
you
that person really feeling?
So the person was feeling the anxiety of
Yes.
not understanding who you are and your lifestyle, and thinking that they're going to have to carry a weight and that you're going to rely on them to take care of you as the beggar woman. So in reality, they don't know how to ask a question because they haven't really formulated the thoughts that they had fully fleshed out. And their observing of you was misconstrued with, I see how she's available to me. I see when she's available to me, and she's not coming from the jobs per se. So there must be a void. And so
But
this is
the
why I say perception is, people don't always know how to approach something they're exasperated by.
and that's a so on the point. And what's interesting is that same feeling was even displayed prior to the pandemic. I spent 8 years with Michael, and I really believe that that also was a core issue for him. And I actually had a brick and mortar during our relationship. I actually had a position where I collected a check. And the crazy thing about it is that when I was in that position of collecting a check, it was, oh my God, why would she work for so little money? Because it was, you couldn't see the stepping stone. When I was at the Mary Center, you know what I'm saying? It was like, how can she work at the Mary Center for so little money, not seeing that the Mary Center was a step in the activism work? Or when I had the store, and contributing to my store, where he even helped Bill, but saw me coming there and visit on a daily basis, and still felt like somewhere along the line, will I have to take care of her? Or does she just do these things waiting for someone to take care of her so she can do these things, so she can own a store, so she can do community activism work for no money? So I get that. So then what do we do as artists, as entrepreneurs? Because I found out, I remember a few years back, not a few years back, a lot of years back, when I was first coming into being an entrepreneur, I had went to one of these luncheons with the women chambers, and I had met my first woman millionaire. and she had also been married like 3 times. And the stigma is that men, have, more than one wife, but anyone who's in that grind of starting a business, goes through, unfortunately, their series of relationships and their series of maybe marriages because of the
Mhm.
time away that's taken. So I think not only is the time taken away, but it's being able to find that partner who will understand the decisions that you've made and actually the work that comes involved. Ups and downs, slow periods, high periods, busy periods, no period. And it's interesting to meet someone when you're at a period that's down. Because if
Mhm.
you meet a person at a period that's down, then that's all they know. They don't know you when you was at your store or teaching or doing your workshops. They know you being home
They know
every
what they
day,
see.
money or not money. They know what they see. But even when you have it set up where you have a business, a brick and mortar, but that still concern is there because the struggle is in having that brick and mortar.
How about
What
brick
do
and
we
mortar
do?
and 9 to 5 doesn't really justify or validate anything, because I know broke people in every corner of the spectrum. So
Girl.
the
Or how
broken
about broke
part.
people, not broke people, but how about people with the job that at 45, 50, 55 with that job still asking parents the loan and for money? How about that?
Well, and you know what that is also? Sometimes you live above your means. Sometimes your
Yes.
cost of living doesn't match your everyday. And so to make ends meet in that's why you have migrations where people are moving to places they wouldn't ordinarily want to, because the cost of living is less and the stress is less about maintaining. So what we're talking about again with the challenges of perception and misconception is that you got a lot of people who have been brainwashed to thinking the
Mhm.
capitalistic way is to get a job, have a retirement plan, and walk into the sunset and you live happily ever after. When the
Right.
reality is, I have had just as many people with a 9 to 5 ask to borrow money from me as I've seen entrepreneurs ask me to donate money to their
Girl,
cause. So
girl,
it doesn't matter
girl.
what you call it, donation or contribution or lending. I have not asked any of my friends to lend me money. And I will ask for
Okay.
support, but I'm always giving something in exchange for that support. So it's
Yes.
not the
Yes.
same thing, because I'm a community builder. So there is a reciprocal part of what I'm doing that's a give back. But I think
And the
that
funny thing about it,
perceptions
when
is the
people say that, when people see that, it's okay that you can get an email from Jude's Hospital. You can get an email from some other organization, even as local as Brick sends out emails. You could get these emails from them
professionally
requesting money.
begging.
You know what I'm saying? Professionally begging. But when we, as a small business owner, ask for donations in regards to a project
It
that
means
is
you
helping
broke
the
and you couldn't make
community,
it right.
then we're
Are
broke and
broke,
begging for money.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a negative sticker.
Reggie is getting ready to perform his album release party December 30th. First of all, that's a holiday weekend. He got a lineup of fucking 5 or 6 professional comics, and he's charging $10 to be safe. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Because I want to make sure I get a room, but why can't I get a room with a fucking $25, $35, $40 ticket with a lineup and a holiday day? Because we got to depend as an entrepreneur, which is more cost effective, getting people
The
in the room,
volume, right, or
you know what
getting your
I'm saying?
price.
Or
Listen,
making the money.
you know me and you are always having the parallel lives. So Korra has a kitchen now in Long Island City. Why yesterday
Okay.
when I came to order some food from her was she in tears and I had to stand on a sidewalk in Queens consoling her about how hard this entrepreneur life is, and how that bottom line hits you in the face every day, that you gotta crank out a certain amount of sold meals in order to make ends meet. But the stats on the demographic is saying that the people in this 3-mile radius only want to spend $8 when you really want to charge $25 for the work you're putting in, because you think about every layer, from the texture to the flavor, from the quality to the whatever. And your bottom line is that it always comes down to the choices that you make and the decisions you make. And I had to say to her when we got on the phone afterwards, like, listen, target your market at who you want, even in spite of where your space is located, because when people want to support you, they will come. And we have to, and here's the thing that I've been honoring: you have to honor your no as well as your yes. So honor your no, honor your yes.
Wait, hold on. Reggie's blocked, so he can't join the conversation. But he just said that that comment you just made, he needed to hear that about when people support you, they'll show up. And that's one of the reasons why we have these conversations, because we never know who is going to hit at what point or what part of the conversation. That's why you got to keep doing the work. But when people are around you, they don't always see those things happening. So for them, like you mentioned earlier, the mere mortals, things seem, oh, what's she doing? She's just flighty. But they not understanding the work, the patience, the diligence, the consistency that comes with that. Because Korra breaking down yesterday is a moment of, fuck it, I don't want to do this. I'll just work in somebody else's kitchen. But even
she
that's
can't.
just
She's too far in. And I said to
alone.
her, change the
And not
narrative
only
in your head.
right there you go.
And what happens is, because you and Korra are just a step or two behind me age wise, so I've already been through what you're going through, which is why I could say emphatically, understand your no is equal to your yes. And you
Yes.
have to begin to start curating your life instead of just existing, because when you curate your life, now you're going to vet who you want in your pathway. So if you want, speaking to the comedian next to you, if you want the $25 tickets, what you have to do to get that is going to be a little different. So that's where you have to make the shift in your mind with how I'm going to fill that room and what it's going to require to do that. And so sometimes you weren't really processing what is it going to take to do the next level, and you keep doing things the way you've always done it, on the hustle and the humble. That doesn't work. When you go to the next level, it has different needs and it has different moving parts to it. Hello. And I'm talking from experience. I'm talking flat out, straight up, down from experience. It changes the game when you start honoring yourself for what amount of work you put in and what kind of residuals you want to get in return for that. And when it's non-negotiable, what do? You put it in the universe, and it's going to hear you like a 5-year-old child. But understand, if you start having any doubt on the inside of your thoughts, it's going to be heard by that universe, that 5-year-old
Now let
child.
me now let me ask you, I have a comment that I want to make from one of our viewers. But before I read that, does the employee have to put that much thought into their day-to-day assignments when they clock into work?
Some do, but wait, let me stop you. Let's play devil's
Okay.
advocate, because I'm not going to
No,
bash them. In
as it
some
was coming
cases,
out my mouth, I did hear the prejudgment, because some people do have those challenging type of positions. But I find that the ones that have those type of challenging positions aren't the ones that, let me, you know what?
no, no, no,
That's
no,
me
no, no.
being,
Let me
that's
just
me
finish
being
it.
judgy. I was
No,
about to
no,
be
that's
judgy.
okay,
So
because that's how
come
we
help,
talk.
come help,
No, no, no.
come
Listen,
help.
what I'll say to that is the difference between the 9 to 5er in that situation is your job is not always predicated on you not giving 1,000% in this, because you're still going to come home with that paycheck at the end of the day. You might get a reprimand, you might not get the promotion, but if you do mediocre work in your 9 to 5, you can, in many cases, still keep the job. As an entrepreneur, if you're not giving 1,000%, that could be the difference of you not getting any money at all.
So Patricia said, we were indoctrinated in a capitalist, imperialist,
That's what I said.
patriarchal society, which
Yes.
fed us a narrative that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't support entrepreneurship. They
Right.
train us to work for ourselves. And what's
Yes.
interesting about that is that the employees know that. And the same employees that know that are the first ones to make the
Just because
comment
you know better
of
don't
what
mean
do
you
you
do
do?
better. Just because you know
Say that
better don't
again.
mean you do better.
Say it,
You could know that
girl.
this burger is going to put an extra lump on my butt, but you still going to eat that burger. So just because you know something isn't enough.
Right.
And so the same way you don't like being judged, you're judgmental. Look what you
Yes,
just did. And you had to
I
come
did.
back from yourself.
I did. I did. I
So
did.
so
And
what it
and
really
I think
says,
judging comes in from feeling like I'm being judged. And it's
no, being
crazy because
attacked. You're being attacked.
being attacked. But
Correct.
am I
We
being
can
attacked
accept being
if
judged.
because
We
am
can
I
accept.
being attacked? Being attacked is someone's attacking you. Sometimes people are not mere mortals are not attacking you if they don't know any better. One of the reasons why I was so connected to the native man was because there was never a need or a room of explaining who I was, what I was about, and how I was going to do what I was going to do. And that kind of connection felt relaxing. Now
And
I got to
safe.
accept oh, and safe.
That I'm gonna tell you,
Wow.
when you hear men
Wow.
who leave their
Wow.
wives, listen, when you hear men who
Wow.
leave their wives, most of the
Wow.
time they say, I didn't feel like she supported me.
Wow.
That means translation, I didn't feel safe. I'm in a space where
Wow.
I don't feel safe because I'm not being understood and heard or regarded for what my choices and truth is.
So then do entrepreneurs only date entrepreneurs?
No, they don't. In fact, just like with music or any other issues or changes and challenges, opposites can attract, but it's really the negotiation that comes in place. How well understood are you about being groomed into the world I live in spite of the world you live? Because I grew
Mm,
up in a household when I would go visit my grandparents in my father's side, and my grandmother was a staunch Methodist and my grandfather was a staunch Baptist, but they never crossed that line of each other's faith and belief. So there was a respect, and that's where the safety comes. Is there's a high regard for respect when you don't necessarily have to understand. Now let's go bigger with this. You don't have to understand everything, and everything ain't for you to know. But
okay.
sometimes just having the ability to have empathy, have understanding, and have
Mm,
patience is enough that even when I know you don't understand my life, I know you don't agree with my choices, but you don't get in my way. You support me, but you give me hard truth when I'm making some mistakes that are affecting me and my wellness. That I'm not saying be a yes boy, but I'm also saying not always is it a need to have to understand everything in that moment. How many times have you got something way after the fact when you was alone with yourself and go, ooh, how could I say or feel that way about A, B, C, elemental P? But now I get it and I see it and I understand it. So overstanding and understanding are perceptions and misconceptions. And this is
mm,
what it's always doing. It's taking a toss and a turn. And today you'll understand and tomorrow they'll understand. And if you have
okay.
this yin and yang, that's when it could work in spite of all the difficulties that come. Is that you've already been burnt by a couple of other people's
Yeah.
interpretations of you. So what you're
Yeah.
spring loading isn't that he here now said did does is that is here we go again.
Yeah.
And so take a little bit of the emotion
Yeah.
off of that because some of the
Okay.
weight you're carrying is the stress,
Mm,
and stress has 5 pounds of weight to it. So
mm,
de-stress by saying
mm.
i'm I'm gonna do better making you understand who I am. What would that look like?
And folks, that is why I decided to bring this conversation to you all, because this is the type of knowledge that I get dropped on me when I'm looking for counsel, when I'm looking for not just validation in what I'm feeling or thinking, but where it kind of makes sense to me. And not just make sense to me because Aleathia is my homegirl and she just want to co-sign with me, but kind of making sense where if we take ourselves out of the scenario and look at things from a holistic and logical point of view, we can begin to see where we have to
Make
put more,
adjustments.
make adjustments. But you know what I'm saying? And that's what it's about in order to truly heal. You know, once you get the information, are you now willing to take that information to make the necessary adjustments that are required so that you can receive something different? So that is one of the beautiful things about when I felt uncomfortable, I removed myself from the conversation rather than, what the fuck you mean?
Because that's the easy way out. It's so much harder to have discipline and
Yes.
reserve, and to
Mhm.
also look at, well, there is a part I'm playing in this because I have the
Yes.
job and task to let people know who I am. And when it's failing,
Mhm.
then there's a contribution I am making that I didn't make myself as well understood as I needed to, so that I
But
could have the
bump.
freedom to move how I need to and have you support that. Hmm.
I agree. Before we
Communication is
close
hard.
out, communication is hard, but so worth it. I asked Shea Butter, how does her husband support her endeavors? Because not only, you know, did I say her husband, she recently became a wife. So even in that crossing over from the girlfriend as an entrepreneur to now making you my wife, how was that? So she responded, he is supportive and I support him. The only one he didn't when I want the only one he didn't support is when I wanted to do face painting. He said I couldn't draw that well. So he
That's
was
where
still
I go
supportive.
back to, but that's the
Right.
hard
That
truth.
he was still
When
supportive
I'm
because he
failing
was
at
like, "You ain't gonna
something,
give us no money."
and just like, well, or you're gonna need some more skills to get to that point if
Right.
you really
There
want to
you
do it.
go. There you
Because
go.
now, are you
Amen.
willing to put the work in so you can get there if
Right.
you're really passionate about it, or is this something you
Right.
just thought you was good at, and I gotta let you know, nah, boo, not that.
Maybe not.
Look away, look away. Every now and again, we doing too much.
So we're gonna end this conversation because if we don't, we'll keep on. People don't understand that we be on the phone for hours on at a time, so that they could just get a snippet.
Snip
Because I
it.
got my jewel. I got my jewel. I got why I called you. So my purpose is filled. So hopefully, in my purpose being filled, I was able to, you know, help some others in this little bit of time that we were able to allow them to see how we get down and build and support each other in this
Wait, can I
so-called thing
just
that we're this
can I
life experience.
Can I just touch on one thing before we go? Because it's still connected
Please.
to this about how we have
Okay,
to
let's
shift
do
our
it.
gears. So
Okay.
I'm scheduled to do this virtual workshop next month. I had virtually sent my outline and description in to the producers. They did what they did. And when they sent me back yesterday what this is going to look like and that they're promoting it, it was the old one I had previously done, and it had nothing about the new one that I had. So they couldn't retract it. And in fact, I now have to kind of shift my gears and go with the flow, if you will. But I had my head
Okay.
and my heart set at doing what I had, the new plan. And this is the thing about being an entrepreneur. I was some kind of twisted yesterday when I got that email saying that I had to go back to the old and I'm already into the future. And as an entrepreneur, when you want the deal and you want to keep a relationship with the people that you're going to be doing business with, and it's going to be an ongoing flow, do you have
Okay.
a tantrum, or do you put your big girl panties on and realize that it may not go the way you initially wanted? But here's again, as an entrepreneur, there's another thing that's connected to that. It's not just this one thing I would be poo pooing if I threw the tantrum. It's the potential of any other future business that could come with that. And so sometimes the amount of shoulder width that you have to bear is beyond what the average person could see. And so then when you come home to those partners who like all they want to see is the check at the end of all the work you had to do, and they don't see all of the labor that went into it and all of the mental gymnastics that you had to do in order to maintain. I even had to say to the woman in joke on the production end, I said, you know what, I am disappointed, but the show must go on, and I
Right.
realized that, so I could let her know my truth. I said, and I'm just being honest to a fault that yeah, there's this, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna do what I gotta do. We gonna move forward. And she's like, well, I'm so sorry. You know, you could do that one at a later date. And I'm like, but
S- So I did an interview when back in the day when I was doing natural sessions, and I remember interviewing Shauna Solomon, the creator of um, Closet Bitch. And this is almost the same thing. Like you were just kind of dipping in when it came to Reggie, and even myself when it comes to shows or performances. Um, you got 5 people in the room, you got 100 people in the room. We still got to show up, and that's the other thing about the employee. You know what I'm saying? You could do your job, whether or not you have to report to someone or not, in the office or not. You have your assignment, and there it is. You know what I'm saying? And the result of the assignment is the result of the assignment. But what about when you have to put yourself in front of a room, do all the marketing, do all the work to prepare, putting it together, and then you have 5 people in the room. Yes, you have all those opportunities or those situations where you have 100 people in the room, but
that's not all the time.
not all the time, and you still have to give. You still
100,
have to
a
give
thousand
100,
percent.
1,000%. And that can be daunting. That can be upsetting, even while you're in the performance, even while you're in the workshop. I've been in situations with you where there's 2 or 3 people in the workshop, but I've been in situations where there's 25, 30 people in the workshop. Do you do anything different with the 2 or 3 people? But you still got to break down, set up, and it becomes aggravating. But then you go to a workshop where you have 25, 30 people, or even the workshop where you had 2 or 3 people, and that second person came to you and said, oh my God, I needed this. Thank you for doing this. And then you're at the end, you're like, all right, grateful that you did it. But that whole 2 hours while you're doing the workshop with freaking 3 people, you're annoyed as fuck trying to be okay.
Being the professional on camera, because you never want to let them see you sweat. And this is the thing that I say, but the gift and the blessing is, you know, at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, the freedom to call your day what it is
Right.
is 150% of why you will still do this and
Yes.
show up every time,
Yes.
because it is not glamorous. It is not just about the dollar. It is so many layers to it, but it has more to do with the freedom of your spirit. I know. I know emphatically I would not be still breathing on this planet if I had to do a 9 to 5. And I have been tested, not once, but multiple times, where other people, not me, said to me when I was in those temp positions and when I was in my college days, and executives and CEOs and business owners, white, black, and everything from male to female, were saying to me, you don't belong here. You're not one of us. So if I'd have had to do that, I'm telling you, I would not be alive. Some of us think that just like people who are gay, who are always arguing the whole notion that you're born a certain way and people look at you like you made a choice. You didn't choose to want to be ridiculed. You didn't
Tell them.
choose to want to have to live a life that you always have to explain to somebody else. Because what does what I do behind a closed door have to do with what I do in a boardroom? Like, tell me why my sexuality has anything to do with the judgment I make in the boardroom and what kind of performance I do in my business. But yet, and still, when you look at entrepreneurs, the judgment that I get and face is, I only had 2 people. Why am I still doing this?
Well, the funny thing about it is that if they go back online and check out our movie, The Untitled Journey, you say that in the movie. It's like, why? It's like asking me why I'm a woman. I say, why be black? It's like I am who I am. And I think that when folks, pose the question, yes, I understand you posing the question because you want to also understand. But in understanding, the challenge becomes is you're asking a question that sometimes can seem like ridicule or judgment just because you don't understand. And then what happens is that when you say, you know what, I don't understand, and I'm conforming to what man has made me to think what is stable. And again, there's nothing like I don't want to come on here and act like we're downplaying employees, because there's I'm never opposed to people. Yeah, exactly, because again, it goes to perception. Hold on before I continue. So some people just saying, hey, so hey everyone who's coming in, promote the new event at the old one. But so promote the new event at the old one. I
Meaning
don't know.
when I do this workshop coming in January, since there'll be
Oh,
another
okay.
one, promote that one. You know what? I'm gonna tell you like I really feel. It don't matter. I'm gonna always do what I need to do. I didn't need that
Go.
part because here's what is happening. I feel like I get to do that.
Right.
That's it, period. I'm not saying that I won't shift gears and I won't make it work for me, even in this one. Like, I've just made now myself available to have two events now instead of one. I can look at the positive, but I can also embrace that there was a moment that there was something negative. How about when we get in our feelings, we get to have that? Can't we just do
Right.
that?
Right.
I didn't say I didn't know what to do.
And
I didn't
and
even
you
ask
know
for
what?
advice.
Let's keep it 100. That's really what this conversation was, how it got started, because I got irritated and annoyed almost, because it's like almost like, how dare you, like, you have the right to wonder, and you have the right to be mindful because you're involved in the scenario, okay,
Mm,
but
I'm rocking right now. Why does everybody have a right and I got to always put up with and deal with that? Stop it. I'm not wearing diapers. No. Because I'm understanding you. I'm observing you. I'm patient with you. I'm having a dialogue with you about yours, but I'm not coming at you like that. And I always have to be this bigger person and
not
figure
you,
out how to
us,
be
the
the
entrepreneur,
journalist.
right?
Saying,
Mhm.
but I'm saying the I is us,
Yeah,
those
I know
of
what
us
you
who are
mean.
in that seat. And I'm
Yeah,
sick and tired of always having to console somebody while they biting me off at the ear. Stop it. I didn't
that
ask
part,
for your
that
advice. Just
part.
listen. I'm
Say that
venting.
shit
It's
again.
not that I'm not clear. I did not know what to do. I didn't know how to look at the positive side of it. I ain't ask you. I just said I need to vent and I need to air how I feel. And just like emotions were given to me as part of my perception, my persona, my being, I get to have them, the good ones and the bad ones. It's not all roses and snowflakes. I get to have, and it's just a passing moment. Why is it I gotta even explain that? Stop it. Just listen.
Well, because they don't understand and they want to
You don't have
understand.
to understand. You don't. You don't. You really don't have to understand. You ain't got to. This is how we talk, y'all. Real talk. You don't have to understand everything at every moment, because that I gotta explain it means I'm coming out of my own character to have to now, well, honey and baby, here's what you need to understand. And I get it. I don't want to have to do that. This is my moment. I'm on the stage. Leave me alone. I got the mic. Stop.
It's funny because I was looking at different situations, properties, and one of the question was, well, how much is it? And that was the last thing. Not that that's not important, but my thing was like, if I see something I want, then I work towards getting it. I
Now I
don't
got a
worry
goal.
about how much it is. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's another thing that changes with the mindset. So my question to you, and I don't want to ask you a question, I want to freaking get off this, but my question to you is, so let's take it to another component where people or we've learned to be spiritually yoked. So if you're in a relationship with someone and that connection is not understood, does that mean one should exit left?
Well,
Employer,
well,
employee, or
Well,
entrepreneur?
well, no, because here's the thing, because you don't know until you're at that point for real, for real. But what it does is it raises a red flag that
Hmm.
there's some work that needs to be done on whether we can get through this or this is going to be the deal breaker. So, and that's why I say counseling does give you tools. It doesn't repair you because you have to do the repair work. But a
Hmm.
counselor in financial literacy and wellness can actually smooth out some of the rough edges about how we are going to coexist and how we need to function on a financial level so that we can better suit each other's needs, wants, desires. And most people don't go to financial counseling when they're becoming a couple and cohabitating. They might go to a couples retreat, they might go to a pastor for some spiritual healing, but how many people are like they say it takes a village? It really takes a village for anything to exist. This is not an easy place called earth. It's not. So whether it be your social life, your professional life, your whatever it is that in this thing called life, you are going to need some team building, some team working, some repair of damage of things that have happened to you that you're still carrying. Like there's a reason why wellness works, because it releases the toxins and it empowers you to be able to move forward where you're not still carrying the baggage, where we bring the luggage everywhere we go, and know that there is a way to release that, and even when it shows up, I'm not emotionally wrung. And that's why I say if you don't release it, you're going to still act it out. So when I say to folks, stop trying to give me counsel when I'm having a venting moment. Know the difference between I don't know what to do and I'm asking for help.
Right,
Because I'm a problem solver, I'm a solution bearer. I get that. But I also
right,
have to come down off of that. When you wear makeup, don't you take it off?
right.
So I take off sometimes the glamour of I've got it all figured out. I'm always methodic and I'm calm. No, I'm not. I'm human. And the human part of me will have my moment. Boom.
On that note, on that note, you can follow me and my shenanigans, which I don't think of shenanigans, my
Call it what
life,
you want.
my
Call
life
shenanigans.
experiments on my YouTube channel. You can follow Aleathia on Instagram or Facebook at Alethia's Original Art. To see the workshops that she has coming up, like she just announced the one she has coming up in January. I don't know how often we are going to do these little spouts because her and I, we talk every day, damn near. Um, I've been doing these conversations with Melissa in regards to the next chapter of my life. I did a conversation with Elohim. I did an audio room with Shea Butter. So I'm finding my lane and where I want folks to know me on a personal level in regards to how I'm dissecting these things in my head that I actually make happen. But the one way that we definitely, you and I, make things happen, and I just pack light, believe, let some of them bags go, because that at the end of the day is what's really holding us back. These uh preordained, is it, or
Preconceived notions.
preconceived notions that have
Notions.
been given to us to continue to separate us, to continue to blind us, to continue to blur us. Because at the end of the day, at 47, a bitch is here. Just like,
The pretty
but,
trees. But bump.
you know what I'm saying? So, and I ain't going nowhere. And I'm
Until it's your
far.
time.
And I'm
Yeah.
far from a broke bitch. You know what I'm saying? I eat every day. I smoke every day. I do what the fuck I want. My nails is done when I want, even if I got somebody else paying for them with a smile. It gets done.
No,
So,
but this is the turn up part. Listen, go girl gracefully. You ain't gotta. How about that?
I know, but why not? Why
'Cause
not?
you
And you're
can.
right. I don't have, I can, okay, you're right. All right, Miss Brown. I'll turn it around like you
This
and
is
say
how we
thank you
talk, y'all.
and
This
say
is how we talk.
thank you for joining us today on a live conversation with Aleathia and Kitty Rose. Would you like me to be
So y'all understand.
Yes, everyone.
Welcome
So
to
once
our
again,
world.
welcome. So once again, if you would like to get to know us more, if you don't already know us, follow our page, subscribe to our page, like our shit, follow our shit. We might surprise you and come back on. But in the meantime, you can check out this conversation. We're going to be coming back to this conversation throughout the day just to see your comments and engage with you guys through the comments. So let's continue the conversation. I want to hear what some employees have to say, because the entrepreneurs, they always got our back because they feel what we feel. But what do the employees feel? Do y'all feel attacked? Do you feel judged? Do you feel misunderstood because we're always upset that you don't understand us? It's a two-sided conversation. So join in. Once again, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle and my partner in life, Aleathia B.
To
Until the
be
next time,
continued.
to be continue. All right, everyone, be safe out there. And don't forget, you can share this conversation. We are not opposed. All right, y'all. Just don't take our heads off and put it on no other video body.
It
I
ain't
don't know.
me. It ain't me.
It ain't me. All right. One.